My notes get real sparse at this point for a while because I think I was just really into the book and enjoying it and forgot to take notes.
Yeah, same. I got not a lot of notes, so we can just go through the story.
Okay, I have tons and tons of notes because I'm like a Red Sonja scholar at this point.
Strap in. This is going to be a long one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gung-Ho Book Club, a fair college tribe, a podcast featuring the thoughts of three online randos on books written by people who've done far more for universal literature than we can possibly hope to. Some of them, anyway. My name is Costin Becheanu, but you can call me Kazi. I've been running various online sites and socials and my mouth in some capacity for over 7 years now, hobbying and hanging out with friends and memeing. Joining me is my longtime friend and gaming partner, Ian.
Cheers.
Who teaches the English how to properly speak their own language in his spare time, which is time spent not gaming. Our master of ceremonies for this venture is our resident West Virginian, Cowboy Cam Wooten.
Hello there.
He is a history teacher, nerd, and big game hunter, and we're hoping at least one of those traits will be of use to this venture. Fair warning, we're adults who like to use... Fuck.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
We are adults who like to use fuck.
Shit, pisscock, motherfucker. Fair warning, we're adults who like to hang out and use adult language together. We're here to read books and talk shit, and we're just done reading Red Sonja and the Ring of Ikribu. Who's this written by? Because I have the Thongor thing still written out.
It's
we are professional podcasters.
Oh, hold on. It's
Fuck,
David
shit,
C. Smith and something Tierney. Hang on.
Richard L. Tierney.
Yeah.
L. Tierney. There we go. Yeah.
David
I
C.
knew
Smith
this.
and Richard L. Tierney, because everyone has to have a middle initial now.
Yes.
Well, I
Of
mean,
course they do.
Robert E. Howard.
Yeah. Yes,
Well,
or if you ascend, you become J.R.R. Tolkien with two middle initials.
Yes.
Or J.R.R. Martin, and then Larry Correa dedicates a book to you.
That was
can't
so
be done.
good.
That was we're gonna be leading. We're leading. God damn this
Leading.
coffee! What's in it? Sleeping pills?
Sounds like you either
I'm
have
gonna
too
be
much
reading
or
some
not
Larry.
enough alcohol.
Yeah. All right. So copious amounts of nonsense follow. Take us away, Cam.
All right.
I'm done.
Okay.
Oh, that was the most crisp intro we've ever done. Oh, we in it now, boys.
Heck yeah.
It wasn't. That was the most lisp intro we've ever done.
To borrow a phrase from the internet, we out here.
That's right. So
Yes.
I want to start this off with the introduction from the back cover of the blurb.
Please do.
It says, she lived in a savage world in an uncivilized age, a world ruled by men and governed by the sword. They called her Red Sonja for her flame-red hair, for the smoldering fire of her pride, which gave her sword arm a strength that few men could match and none had ever defeated. In the very lands where Conan the Cimmerian wielded his powerful blade, this beautiful and deadly warrior maid traversed the Hyborian kingdoms with her sword for hire. Lured by the promise of riches and adventure, Red Sonja is drawn into a war between a city of doomed mortals and the awesome ambitions of a centuries-dead sorcerer in a quest for the primal, untamable power forged into a ring of gold.
Bwomp, bwomp,
There we go.
bwomp.
It's quite ominous.
Yeah, it's a really good blurb on the back of it. Like, I can see why that would draw people in.
Yeah, it's solid. It's solid. A part of me
Fair
almost regrets that we didn't look at whatever blurb Thongor had at the end of the book to compare, but
Let's just move on. boys.
Thongor doesn't
here's the
exist
thing.
anymore.
the problem is
Let's do Kellogg the Warlock or whatever the hell I found
what?
that was. What was the book cover I sent you? What was the name on it? What was
right.
I don't
forgot.
remember.
It's not Kellogg, but it's pretty fucking close.
Sure, this Kellogg cereal
honestly,
the warrior or the wizard or
Kellogg
whatever.
the Warlock sounds good enough to me.
Yeah, Sherry the Wizard and Kellogg the Warlock.
Yeah, I mean,
These characters are all canon. No.
yes.
As you do. Yes. Oh, it's Kellery the Warlock. So I was really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
You weren't that far off.
I was 4 letters up on it.
You were not far off.
5 actually. Kellogg and Kellery.
Kellogg, yeah, because it's a double G in Kellogg.
Yes.
The thing about getting rid of Thongor forever, unfortunately, I am so traumatized by what we've established has been our Vietnam that a lot of my notes just call back that there's a lot of unlike Thongor, unlike Sumia.
Yeah. I got a couple of those.
We at
but
least have a basis of like, here's what a bad story looks like. Here's what a good story can look like.
Exactly. I will mention just before we move on from the back blurb that there is a front blurb as well.
Yes.
But I want to come back to that at the end of the podcast because I have some notes.
Okay. So you want to talk about the Roy Thomas introduction later?
Yes, I'll mention one thing from it in the beginning. In fact, before we even get into the story, I think we need to lay down some groundwork and background for the character.
Of who Red Sonja is.
Exactly. And before that even, or actually, no, why don't you tell us who Red Sonja is and how she came to be?
So you want me to do the introduction without doing the introduction? Because that's what the whole Roy Thomas introduction was.
No. Do the introduction. I wanted to talk about the art, but we can do that after the introduction. With the introduction that
like
contains
the
the
cover
introduction.
Yes, okay, do we want to talk
art.
about... We can talk about the cover art first, since we haven't even cracked the book open, technically.
Right, yeah, let's take them in page order.
Yeah.
Page
Because,
1!
Wreck and Scratch, go back. We're looking at the cover. We're not even at page 1 yet.
We're very
So
organized.
The cover is technically page 1, you cunt.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know
Just
about
talk
that.
to any publisher and they will slap you across the face. And
Why does a book start... Books start... Never mind, okay.
never
I'll take
mind,
your
doesn't
word for
matter. Yeah, none of this is important. So at the end of the last podcast, and some of this may end up even getting cut before it even goes out.
End of the last ice age. Okay.
At the end of the last Ice Age, yeah. It's been a happy new year in the meantime.
The Ice Age is over?
Well, technically,
Not out my
yeah,
window.
still under snow, hurricane,
I mean,
west of her fucked Virginia over there.
actually, the definition of an ice age is so long as there is ice at the poles, we are technically in an ice age. So, no, the ice age isn't over.
What about a nice age?
Those don't exist.
We've never had one of those.
Oh.
So, at the end of the last podcast, we started talking about the infamous style of the chainmail bikini.
Yes.
Of Red Sonja, and I credited Boris Vallejo, and yes, his name is pronounced Vallejo because he's, as it turns out, Peruvian in origin. So
Does he like powder?
Please correct me whenever I definitely mispronounce it.
I don't think I have the patience for that.
That's fair.
I get paid to correct people in my everyday life. This
This is his day off.
Exactly. But according to Roy Thomas himself in an interview, and mind you, I did take this off of Wikipedia, but he credits a Spanish artist, Esteban Maroto, with the design of the chainmail bikini itself.
Yes, because when Red Sonja was first introduced, she did not have that attire.
Indeed, she had something which I would consider at least mildly sensible.
She had on a
quite.
chainmail shirt, and then
Sleeveless.
no,
sleeveless.
No, not in the comic.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
her original introduction, and then she was wearing like red hot pants.
Yes, like I
To
said,
go with her red hot hair. Yeah.
mildly more sensible.
She at least has more armor on than the initial.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in the world of the Conan visual representation in media, it's par for the course. In the books, even Conan himself wears actual armor when he needs to, but in comics he don't.
Because he's big, strong, muscly man.
Because Frank Frazetta, essentially.
His chest hairs deflect sword blows.
Or lack of them in the comics.
Or lack of them.
You can You can picture me in the corner doing the rocking back and forth thing. Don't say thews. Don't say thews. I'm telling you, man, I'm traumatized.
I successfully dodged that bullet.
So yeah, you wanted to talk about the cover art.
Yes, which is by Boris Vallejo. The cover art for the edition of the book that we're reading is by Boris.
I don't think there's any other editions of the book.
No, don't think so.
I think this is the book that you find if you search for it.
Ace Publishing, in case we didn't credit it.
I don't think they exist.
Because I didn't write my thing, but remember the intro?
We're professionals, goddammit.
Yes.
So yes, and I do have a few things to say about Boris Vallejo, but Cam, you wanted to step in?
Oh, no, I was just... It seemed like we were...
You're doing great, buddy.
It seemed like we were getting...
Keep going.
We're on a roll here, motherfuckers. Yeah, so obviously there's some thoughts, TM, about this whole thing in the modern world. Now, Conan as a representation of the male physique has been talked about numerous times, but when it comes to the female characters, the tendency, especially in these fantasy representations, is exploitative, usually. For reference, see pretty much any Red Sonja comic that has come out in the last 20 years. But the thing about Vallejo's art, and this is kind of worth mentioning, so he partners with his wife in the arts because they're both actual artists, so they collaborate on a lot of things.
Yeah, is her name like Julie Bell or something?
Julie Bell, indeed, who was a bodybuilder herself. And he used her as a model very often.
As Frazetta did with his wife.
As Frazetta did with his wife as well. So a lot of the times, and this is a huge difference between some of the early pulp covers, pre-Frazetta, pre-Vallejo, where the female characters are pretty much just background set dressing, usually, big-breasted, scantily clad, looking helpless, staring up at the hero. They're objects to be possessed, whereas characters drawn by Frazetta and Vallejo, often enough, they're more powerful. Exactly.
Yeah,
done jinxed me again.
Well, we've been together for so long.
Way too long. So that's why I personally am not bothered by any of this, because yes, okay, the art cover is literally the woman in a bikini. It's not meant to represent the actual reality of the story, because in the story, yes, it does mention a bare midriff, which it has its own explanation. The outfit has lore. But the cover art is just meant to...
And there's probably no cum jar, because they hadn't been invented back then, so...
It's more of a... Well, it's a ceramic jar, I suppose, but anyway.
Wow, it's not that old, buddy. It's not bloody ancient fantasy.
Well, no, I mean in the... in
the
world itself,
okay.
In universe,
yeah. Okay.
But anyway, yes, so Sodia, who is supposed to be a character with her own strength and agency, is thus represented by Boris Vallejo as a rather svelte, if you will, athletic woman. Even if it is in a chainmail bikini. Because this stuff is kind of like with the original superhero stories, who were basically just drawn after strongmen at the circus, up to and including the underpants over trousers motif.
Alex Ross has been using one of his friends to draw Superman for like 20 years or so.
Yeah.
So it's not... It's even recent, is what I was going to say.
Exactly. Where the Frazetta and Vallejo covers are kind of meant to evoke those bodybuilding photos, right? Where they're all usually wearing as revealing clothing as you can, because the whole point is to reveal the muscles.
Yeah,
So,
it's not like he just drew women like this and men are wearing like practical outfits. Like they're all basically naked.
exactly. It's bodybuilders posing with swords.
Yes.
It's a trapping of the genre, and it catches the eye. So
Exactly.
And by the point that they made these books, Red Sonja was already an established character. They had already established like the look for her with that one guy's like chainmail bikini outfit. So they're not going to put like a completely unrecognizable version of Red Sonja on the cover.
No, although funny enough, they did that with later comics, but whatever.
Hey, well,
they've been trying various things in the comics. Not all of them successful. So
True. And you'll have to drag me kicking and screaming to talking about the comics, so we're not going to do that.
oh, but we will because there's a comic book of this.
You're more than welcome to read it.
Well,
without
Cam
me.
has read it,
Yeah.
as far as I know. So
I've read it numerous times. Just
Sure,
as I've
I
read
meant
this
for the
book numerous
podcast.
times.
Right. So, the intro?
Okay, so we want to do the Roy Thomas intro now, but or do we want to just like briefly mention who Red Sonja is?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So Red Sonja's origins go all the way back to Howard, very vaguely, Robert E. Howard, because he has the story In the Shadow of the Vulture, which is set in somewhere in the Middle East. And it's during a time period where, like, guns exist, but people are still fighting with swords as well. I should probably know more about this being the resident history teacher, but I simply don't care.
It takes place during the 1529 siege of Vienna.
Yeah.
And the Battle of Mohacs before that. And Sonja is of Polish-Ukrainian origin. And the story takes place in, well, modern-day Austria / Hungary.
Okay, cool.
there you go.
Yeah, I don't know these things. I should, but I don't.
It's not exactly relevant to the story that we're talking about today.
This particular, yeah, but...
True.
Over the course of researching for this book, I have kind of become a fan of the original Red Sonja.
Yeah, I mean, that's
history
fair.
Nerd.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what Roy Thomas did was he was writing the Conan comics because he had found like the reprints of the pulp stories in paperbacks with the beautiful cover art and stuff from Frazetta, and he got really into it, and he was finally able to convince Marvel and Glenn Lord of Howard's estate to collaborate, produce comics. And he was looking for like another female character to kind of put as kind of like a foil to Conan, but before Conan ends up meeting with Belit. And it was like a fan had said that in one of the letter columns that the only like person that they thought could ever like cross blades with Conan and live would be Red Sonja of Rogatine, which is from Shadow of the Vulture, and it's Red Sonja with a Y, SonyA. And so then Thomas was like, well, let's just take this character, slightly change her, put her into the Hyborian Age, and adapt that story into the Hyborian Age as well. And he does this with various Howard stories. He brings them into the comic books, changes some things, plops Conan into the middle of the story, and blah. And they work very well, because all of Howard's characters are kind of similar.
Trappings of the genre, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not really his fault. It's just how it is.
It is what it is.
So yeah, and Red Sonja pops into the scene of the comic books with the Siege of Makalet, which is like a multi-issue epic that Roy Thomas kind of he compares it in the introductions of the comics to like how we have like Homer's Iliad with the Battle of Troy and stuff. Like it was supposed to be the Hyborian Age's Battle of Troy, the Siege of Makalet.
Interesting.
I thought you were going to say Homer's Simpsons.
God damn it.
And so
I'm really glad you didn't.
The Siege of Makalet, it's set, I don't remember if it's on the Turanian side or the Hyrcanian side of the sea. However you say that sea, I don't know how to say it.
Yashing Jobsun, the Southern Sea.
No! Oh, God, please, no.
It's
Sea
like
to the south?
Vilayet or Vilayet. I don't know how you say it.
Vilayet. Yeah, Vilayet. It's...
Okay.
believe Indian in
Again,
origin.
I'm a redneck. I can't do this. So I can't pronounce these things.
A redneck history teacher is a contradiction in terms.
Hang on. No, I have to take that back. Vilayet is a Turkish word, apparently.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But either way, it's on one side or the other of that sea where Macallan is at. I don't remember which. I think it's the Turanian side. But it's like the Hyrcanians and the Turanians, which are of the same people, but they're different nations, are battling for stuff. And Sonja and Conan end up being on the battlefield and meeting each other and things. So
As you do.
And as we mentioned, she was not wearing a chainmail bikini at all.
What, she was naked? God damn.
A shirt of mail and red hot pants and brown boots.
Red hot pants. I can't get over the hot pants.
I know, I don't understand where they came up with hot pants in the Hyborian Age, but...
It was hot in the Hyborian Age.
It was hot in the Hyborian. Yeah, exactly.
I guess. But yeah, so all of that happened and stuff, and do you want me to go through the rest of the intro, or did you want to wait till the end with that stuff, because you were talking about?
Only as much of it as you want to discuss. The bit that I will bring back is the blurb that comes after, or rather, even before.
I'm not sure. What?
It doesn't matter. I do have
you're on about.
some notes about the intro itself, but I'll let you finish first. I'm gonna let you finish.
All right, so he also explains that there's like timeline and continuity stuff in this, saying that like the novels and the comics coexist in the same world, and these are set at least a year ahead of where the comics were at the time of publishing, which was in the 60s, I think, or 70s.
The comic started in 75. The book was in 81.
81. Okay, gotcha. Was off a decade there. My start date.
This was a lot more recent than I thought it was, honestly.
Yeah, and sadly, these are like in some sort of like, I assume, copyright hell forever, like out of print, never more to be seen.
Forever, ever?
No official digital copies exist, and it's a crying shame because these books are great.
What do you mean? Our official digital copies that we've totally legally read exist.
I own all 6 of these
books
books in paperback. Thank you very much.
Well, you would. You would.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't imagine copies of this are going to be very common.
Yeah.
No.
Days.
I mean, for us over here, just sword and sorcery stuff in general. I did find Dragonlance books at that fair I went to.
So did I, which honestly says more about the Dragonlance books than anything else.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, sorry, Cam. Go on.
Oh no, it's all good. So like that's pretty much the only notes I had about the intro itself. Because then after that, then there's the prologue. This book has very many things that happen before the story happens.
Quite, yes. Well, this book is the introduction to the character, or at least it is for most people, so it makes sense that there would be an introduction to the introduction as part of the introduction.
It's true, it's true.
The main 2 notes that I had about the intro itself were that... So, we'll mention this as part of the story as well, but one of the well-known, I suppose, facts about the original incarnation of Red Sonja with a J is that she took a vow never to be with a man unless he should best her in combat.
That's true. That is true. Which the story pieces it together throughout it a little bit.
It does, as a story is wont to do. And I should say that, unlike other books which we will not mention, it does that quite well.
Yes.
Letting you piece together the backstory of a character bit by bit as it evolves in world, rather than just info dumping.
Yes.
Often by means of wizard.
Which is a great change of pace for us.
Or we're not going into a random, explanation on physics in the middle of your sword and sorcery novel.
So that...
Come now, that's just like a woman to explain physics in the middle of combat. Yes. Now,
a limp body, you say, and a body of water.
Hang on. Takes out the chalkboard. I got this.
Listen, ain't nothing limp when Hot Pants walks in.
Hey!
Right.
Please don't make me think of the Gail Simone Red Sonja. I don't want to. Nevertheless, Roy Thomas attributes the origin of this vow to having read William Butler Yeats' Cuchulainn, I suppose it's pronounced, poem. Which to me was kind of surprising because I would have assumed that even in the 70s when this was taking part, especially for someone as apparently well read as Roy Thomas, that is the prime feature of Brunhild, the character of the Nibelungen lead.
The Nibelungen, yeah.
Yeah. Because part of her whole story is that she swore not to be with a man unless he best her in combat. In walks the original Giga Chad Siegfried and does that.
The original Giga Chad.
In many ways.
I don't know this character you're talking about, but okay.
Well,
That's the Ring of the Nibelung... Der Ring das Nibelungen Saga. Or something.
I'm sorry, it would be Der Ring der Nibelungen. My apologies.
Yeah, you know.
Or
I stopped learning Deutsch in the 3rd grade.
So did I, but you know. Or if you're reading the Norse version, it would be the Saga of the Volsungs.
Yeah, the Volsung Saga.
Yeah, I still have no idea what you're talking about.
You know
it's
what?
the guy that bathes in the dragon's blood and the original bather in dragon blood.
The original bather in dragon's
I will
blood.
take your word for this.
Yes. Trust in us.
Yeah.
It's the guy who had the Achilles heel on his back or something.
I am apparently in the same league as Roy Thomas here, having no clue what you're talking about.
Which, you know, is fair enough. I suppose... I don't know, I feel like Viking myth would have been fairly well known, even in America. I mean, shit, Brunhild is a character in Ride of the Valkyries, right?
Okay, but the only people in America that talk about Vikings are those really cringe people that act like that they're Vikings. And they make it their whole personality.
I don't think that was a thing in the 70s yet.
I hope
I'm sure they had LARPers in the 70s.
People making their Facebook posts now with their Vikings and their wolves and talking about how cool they are. No.
Listen,
please stop.
Personally know one of these people and I just refuse to talk to them anymore. So.
As you should.
No shade, but actually plenty of shade.
Plenty of shade.
Right.
All the shade. Shit's an oak tree.
Yeah, there you go. I have one final note about the intro before we can begin, if you will allow me, which, again, per Roy Thomas, one of the other inspirations for how he wrote Red Sonja was Joan of Arc. Because he kind of combined the visions from God that Joan was getting with the vision that granted Sonja, apparently, her powers, allegedly, alongside the vow that she took. Depending on the interpretation. Yeah, we can talk about that when we get to it. And my note here writes that Sonja is essentially Joan of Arc plus Brunhild, which is something that young me, who had read the Nibelungen Lied and watched the Mila Jovovich movie, would really have liked. And that is the extent of my note here.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There's also a Nibelungen film, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe there would be several.
There's at least one semi-recent one that I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah, it would have been contemporary to the Mila Jovovich movie.
Yeah, pretty much, like early 2000s or something.
Mm-hmm. I probably saw it as well at that age, but do not remember it as fondly as Mila Jovovich.
It wasn't a good movie; it was just a movie.
Whereas The Messenger is a very good movie.
It's one of those cult classics that people are, several decades later are like, man, it was a cult classic. No, it was just a bad movie, dude. Not every bad movie is a cult classic.
Yeah.
It really depends on the cult.
That's fair.
Fair.
I think in general, though, if I had to say it, most fantasy movies are garbage.
Yeah. That's
You're
because
not wrong.
most fantasy movies are made by Uwe Boll.
Uwe Boll,
Or
but
Uwe.
yes.
Uwe Boll.
He's
He's made like a dozen D&D movies or something, right?
No, hold on, because he's been in the news recently, announcing another movie and
Yeah, starring the cannibal.
right, yeah,
Army Hammer, for those of you not in the know.
Yeah, I got you.
I know this just because of a post on some social media or other when somebody was just saying, "Please, no, I don't want to live in this timeline."
I was reading the news. And then the bit came to me, and Army Hammer announced as the lead in the new Uwe Boll movie, and my mind went, and there was much gnashing of teeth.
Look, I'm willing to go on record as saying that Army Hammer and Uwe Boll deserve each other.
I have little to no knowledge of what actually went on with Army Hammer. I just know him as the Lone Ranger and the guy in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I like them in both. So he likes a bit of man meat. I mean, we separate the art from the artist.
We should.
The artist from the man, sorry, yeah.
Please do not refer to him as the Lone Ranger. He is the Disney Lone Ranger.
Okay, yeah, he is the Disney Lone Ranger.
Wait, hold on. Fuck you, Cameron. You decide to be a purist now?
No. The Disney Lone Ranger can't exist in the same continuity as the original.
I'm going to give you a quote from Red Sonja.
We're going to have
fucked.
to read this.
No, I am not reading any fucking Lone Ranger books.
But there's only like 6 in their pulps. Actually, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Already at this point, I've already read the first 3 Red Sonjas. Was planning on the further ones. So
I've read the first 2. I've read all of these before, but I've read the first 2.
Yeah,
and then
rereading, but
well, as we've established, pulp is not a very well-defined thing, is it?
No.
All right, let's get into this plot.
Shall we? Shall we talk
An
about
hour
the
in.
actual book?
God damn, I'm not hitting that morning workout, am I?
You may yet.
Fucking Canada's gonna be awake by the time we're done with this.
All right, so the prologue that we're at, we're still not in the actual story, really.
Nope.
We're introduced to the 2 main antagonists of the story in the prologue.
Yes.
And so we have the wizard Azroth, and we have the Corinthian ex-nobleman and knight, Duke Pallades? Pallades,
I guess.
Pallades would be the closest.
Pallades. Hello, Pallades.
Duke Pallades, there we go.
Pallades. I mean, as it's meant to evoke ancient Greek, it would be Pallades.
Pallades, okay.
Yeah, okay. And so they're arguing over their search for some sort of magical ring, which is the one mentioned in the title, the Ring of Ikribu. And in my notes here, it kind of gives me a very, even though this was written before this, it gives me a very, Palpatine and Vader arguing type vibes.
This was written after.
After, actually, yeah.
But Palpatine and Vader have never interacted on screen at that point. Because this is 81, right?
Yeah, that would have been...
it was Empire.
77, 80, 83, yeah.
Oh, okay, no.
Right.
Those were
Empire Strikes Back was 1980, and it doesn't take long to write one of these books.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe. Maybe it did then. Maybe there was some influence there.
Maybe fuck you.
Maybe go fuck yourself.
But yeah, so Palpatine and Vader kept arguing and pettiness going back and forth between the 2 of them, which I really enjoyed.
Jesus. I just remembered what happens to Pallades later in the book, and the parallel to Vader suddenly became even more palpable, if I may.
Indeed.
Palpable.
And like there's the one line from the prologue that sticks out to me is, "You have failed me, Duke Pelides." Like that's just, it's peak, it's
You
premium.
have failed me, Veda.
And then Pelides over there was just going.
I mean, he would behind his fucking mask.
Indeed, he even has a mask in this. He gets
has oh my god. Headcanon activated. We're gonna Star Wars this shit, aren't we?
Yes.
That's weird.
Oh man, okay.
Somehow, Pelides returned.
Oh no. I mean,
my one note for this prologue intro thing is Azeroth hired Duke Pelides of Corinthia to find a ring of immense power. Should have found a hobbit.
That's true. It would have been much easier.
Yeah.
The Hobbit parallel may return later in the book.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So Pelides, of course, is like angry that the sorcerer like insults him for like not finding the ring, and so he draws his sword, and then the sorcerer just kind of makes his sword useless. So then his honor guard comes in to fight him, and he just obliterates all of them with incense smoke from like the braziers that are laying around.
I mean, if you've ever been to a Sephora, you know.
And so then we go to like Azeroth like curses Pelides, and so he like flees. His face is all like disgusting now, and like if
Allegedly.
men look upon it, then like it turns them mad.
Supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I don't think that's actually what it does.
By his own claim, yeah.
Mm.
I'm horrible, don't look at me.
I think it was just like an illusion that the wizard cast upon him of like where he thought it looked like that, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, Pelides
Isn't
out
that
here
a-
channeling Instagram influencer vibes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a theme through the book?
It is
Yeah.
indeed. It is indeed.
Yes, lots of illusion. And Sonia mentions this multiple times, is that yes, magic is real, wizards have power, but like a lot of this is just they trick your mind and it ends up killing you.
Mm-hmm.
This is a note that I have repeated a few times, but I really dig the magic in this. The way it's described, the way it works, is it illusion, is it mostly in your head? I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of like evokes back to like the way Howard did it with the stuff, because like a lot of it is just illusion, or like, you know, like an arrow turns into a snake and this and that. Like it's very sleight of hand. How much power do these guys have? Who knows?
Yep.
I am a big fan of the magic as it is represented in original pulp stories, especially this era, I mean Robert E. Howard's.
Yeah.
Which this is in keeping with very much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of don't show, don't tell about this magic. That
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't need like a Harry Potter breakdown of like, these are the spells and here's what the spells do and this is how you do the things. I don't want that. I don't want a well-defined magic system that's boring and dumb.
Yeah. Amen.
But also, it isn't used as a crutch just to move forward the plot like other magic systems would be. It's not, D&D levels of a wizard did it.
That's true. The wizards are very much limited in their power in this. Especially
Thongor levels
Azeroth
of
here.
Wizards did it.
Like
kind of-
reset the timer.
because Azeroth here is searching for this ring, but he can't find it himself. Like, even his magic is not strong enough to do that. Which I like that the magic is limited.
Yes, because, it's not necessarily that his magic is limited, though it is, but also the ring itself has protection against magical scrying. And if an inferior author, whose name I won't give as an example, were to write
Reset
this...
the timer. We know who you're talking about.
You know damn well who I'm talking about. This would just kind of be a thing that
J.K.
happens.
Rowling, right?
Yeah, for instance. Listen, I'm willing to put Rowling in the same boat as... No, she's much more talented than
Yeah.
he who shall not be named.
Yeah, way more talented, which is depressing.
Honestly, I mean, look, I don't like the Harry Potter books. I didn't like them even before the whole kerfuffle. But I have to acknowledge it's, again, bar very low, but much better written than the other thing. No, but
Kid stuff.
It is. It really is.
But still better than this, so.
Not, by this, we mean
this.
Thongor,
not
not
this.
We mean
Sonja.
Thongor, yes.
This.
This is far better than anything Harry Potter.
This is far better than that. This is the good this.
I think I need to add
was
more
the bad
coffee
this.
to my whiskey now. In the course of the usual trend. No, but the properties of the magic.
I think at this point you need to add some coffee to your whiskey.
That's literally, yeah.
Right.
No, so the properties of the magic are not described in, let's say, Brandon Sanderson details of this is how it works in the hard fantasy realm, but it is nonetheless established within universe what its limitations are, how it can be used, so it's not just wave wand around, plot moves forward now because I said so. So it has internal consistency.
Yeah, it's defined, but it's not well defined.
Exactly. Vague enough that it remains mysterious, but well defined enough that you can build a plot point around it without it feeling forced.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's also consistent so that you're not,
Yes.
halfway through like, wait, magic could do what?
Exactly.
It keeps, and if it introduces something new, it just keeps building as it does through the novels, but keeps consistent within the main ethos, I guess.
Yeah,
in a way that makes sense and builds upon what was already established.
Yeah, we've got the smoke here with the illusion. Then later on, we'll have an illusion with another thing. Then we'll have an illusion with a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them kill. But
yes.
It's still an illusion.
Mm-hmm. And it's worth mentioning here, because we'll come back to it, that the authors clearly show that the soldiers, as they were being killed by the magic, they thought that the smoke had turned into vipers or blades coming at them. And then after they died, Pallades looks at them and there is not a mark on their bodies.
Right.
And this is important to the way that the magic works. And we'll see this again.
Mm-hmm.
And again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really just love the magic.
Yes, I'm in it. I'm already on board, and we haven't even gotten to the first chapter.
Yeah, it's a really banger.
Easy.
It's a really banger prologue.
It really is. It really is.
And so then we're also introduced to something that feels like it comes straight out of a fairy tale with a magic mirror. So Azeroth is like asking it to show him the whereabouts of the ring. And like finally he's able to somehow pierce the veil of the magical ward on the ring, and he sees a nearby city. He's like, I know where that's at. I can do this.
I can see my house from here.
Yeah. The one thing that is slightly weird to me, but I guess it makes sense. I don't know. So this is all set in Koth,
Yes.
the nation state of Koth. And he just kind of happens to be pretty close to where it's at, which is weird to me, but...
I'd say within the context of the story, it kind of makes sense, because Azeroth was obsessed with the ring for so long that I feel like he would have built his fortress close to the last known location of the ring.
Yeah, it's not really explained. It's just a slight oddity that I'm not sure exactly why he happens to be so close, other than plot convenience.
Yeah, it's not addressed in the book directly, but I pieced it together in my mind, and it kind of made sense retroactively having...
yeah.
Because this is discussed later in the book. But...
And
right.
he would have been searching for this thing for a long time, so...
Yeah, and well, I don't want to spoil the...
Yeah, spoilers, because we'll have to discuss this, yeah.
Yeah.
So shall we get introduced to our main character yet?
God damn.
With the next chapter, the first chapter, chapter 1.
We made it 1 hour in and we're at first chapter. This is going to be a 3-hour long podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
There goes my morning. We need to wake up at 4, dude.
Yeah, we really do.
All right, go on.
So, chapter 1 is called Quest.
Chapter 1, verse 1.
Yeah, and we're introduced to, like in all good tales of sword and sorcery, a tavern.
Yay!
Yes.
It begins in Isaac's Tavern.
Or
Isaac, I don't know, but...
Isaac, I suppose. Every one of these novels that is pulp, sword, and sorcery, we're probably going to end up drawing parallels to D&D, but again, Gary Gygax was here taking notes.
You all meet in the tavern.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll meet in a tavern. But here's the... it's not... Because this is all deliberate to a greater or lesser extent, because Thongor, for all his faults, begins in a tavern with a brawl where he has to show that he's mighty and slay someone. And
But then he gets concussed.
But then he gets concussed, as he is wont to do.
Yep.
But then, for example, another character that has the same introduction beat for beat is our favorite white-haired, at once played by Henry Cavill character, Geralt. In his very first short story, he is in a tavern and he murders some dudes who are racist towards him.
Doesn't he always do that, though?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have that guy doing that for people being bad towards him. We have Thongor doing that. We have Sonja, spoiler, will be doing that soon.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's
just a well-established trope.
It's to establish that our character is both a good guy, but also won't take crap from bad people.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Because they're honorable with the way they fight against the dishonorable people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't start the fight, but they sure do end them.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, I really like the beginning of this story too, now that we're into the proper story, because we're in this tavern and there's all these people that are crowded in there, and it's because the weather outside is shit. It's like just absolutely pouring the rain, and it's been pouring the rain for like days. And so they're all just hiding out in this tavern, just, wenching and drinking and, just having a grand old time. Yep. But of course, then you have a nobleman of the nearby city of Suthrad, which was recently attacked by Azeroth. His name is Alice. He's a knight of some sort, kind of like a nobleman-ish. And he's trying to recruit the men in this tavern for Lord Olin, the rightful ruler of Suthrad. He's not a king, because Koth is ruled by an emperor, if we're going into wider canon things here.
It's a collection of city-states, or was it?
Right, yeah. It's a bunch of different city-states led by an emperor whose name doesn't matter. I don't remember.
Isn't even mentioned in the book, so we don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
And so, yeah. He's wanting the people in this tavern to join up with him to go fight for Lord Olin to retake the city and slay the sorcerer.
Yes.
And what do they tell him?
Fuck off.
Yes, exactly.
My note here is... alas, can't hire swords for Lord Olin's kingdom of Suthrad.
Oh. That was
that
good.
Joke had to be made. Yeah.
It had to be. No, it had to be.
And so I also
I think I have an earlier note from, I think it was the prologue. It's a quote: "Steel shivered and whined as it was ripped free from its scabbard."
Oh yeah.
And I said,
yes.
never a more accurate description of the shling sound effect.
yeah, that's whenever he draws his sword to go against Azeroth.
Yes.
Yeah. Steel shivered and whined. I just love that.
Yeah.
So I could hear the fucking thing. It was great.
And it's clearly an example of cinema influencing writing.
Oh, yeah.
Because swords don't make that noise when you draw them from a scabbard.
Yeah, well. But you could taste iron, on the tip of your tongue when you read that.
It's canon. It happens.
Yeah. It's canon.
They designed their scabbards such in the Hyborian Age that they swing when they drop them.
Exactly.
There's a little monkey at the bottom of the scabbard that goes swing every time I pull the sword out, it just wakes up and goes.
No, the people when they draw the sword, they do that noise with their mouth because it's intimidating.
Oh,
It's like whenever you like pump a shotgun to like scare away people that are trying to break into your house, you just swing with your sword.
It's not even a shotgun; it's a broom, and it just goes.
Yeah. So we get to my first note here, because I have like the outline notes, and then I have like my personal notes that I took as I was reading it. And my first personal note references Thongor. It feels very alive, and not like the places in the Thongor series. Every character in this bar feels real.
I had the exact same note.
They don't feel like NPCs in a tabletop RPG that you don't interact with, that are just standing there.
Other than the innkeeper's son, who is Isaac, son of Isaac.
Okay, that was good.
That sounds like GM. What's the name of the innkeeper's son? Isaac.
Fuck,
okay, he's Isaac, notes. Son of Isaac. Shut up.
Yeah, that one's good. That's good. He is an NPC. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say everyone here feels to a certain extent like an NPC. It's just that the NPCs in Thongor were all T-posing.
Right. These are indeed NPCs, but they have actual scripting.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Because I was honestly, when I read this, I was taken aback. Like, I felt like I was in that tavern. It was well described. I could picture it in my head. I could picture the characters, the way they were talking and behaving. It felt real. The noise, exactly.
Yeah.
And
like the smells of the food on the fire, of the hearth, and it's such a beautiful description.
Yeah. And even Isaac, son of Isaac, honestly feels like look, genuinely, there are Greek people out there who are called Ioannis Ioannidis. I mean, it's the same fucking thing.
Gunnarsson.
The guy who discovered, well, not discovered, but the first settler in West Virginia, his name was Morgan. So, I mean, is what it is, man.
And then his son was Morgan Jr. Probably, I don't know.
But yeah, of course, we have the dramatic entrance now of Red Sonja.
Dun dun dun.
The door opens, and it's a cloaked figure framed there, which is another classic kind of trope.
If this were a Western, the swinging doors would have gone.
You took that out of my brain. You took that out of my brain.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Ennio Morricone soundtrack swells.
Yes. That's probably the best part about that Red Sonja movie is that soundtrack.
It was pretty good.
But yeah, so she's standing there, she's got a cloak on. You don't know who she is yet, or if it's even a man or a woman yet, and comes in, they're like sopping wet because of the rain.
The NPCs don't know who it is, but we sure as fuck know.
Yeah, I mean,
got a bit of a leg up on the NPCs.
Yeah, I mean, this entrance was telegraphed pretty much for the knowledgeable reader of pulp, because the mercenaries start talking. Oh, who is that man over there? He looks like a soldier, but he's skinny. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very much obvious, but again, we are reading pulps.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a criticism. I'm just saying, if you know, you know.
Yeah. And so then she takes off the cloak and reveals, and I quote, a supple frame. Harkens back to Thongor.
I do take issue with some of the descriptions in this book, but with the benchmark being as low as it is right now, I'll just let it slide.
That's fair.
As her initial description is pretty tame, I think.
It's pretty tame. It's not terrible.
No. Yeah, she's wearing a brief vest and a skirt of silvery scale mail. It covers like her breasts, and it hangs from her waist, but it leaves her limbs and her midriff bare. They say that it's good armor, but not much of it, and it's clearly worn to symbolize her untamed spirit and not for protection.
Yeah, she's got all her points and decks.
But
God damn it.
Now, I read the comic version of this. I don't think either of you guys ended up reading it, did you?
Nope.
No, I completely forgot. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
it's all good.
refuse to.
So I figured you would. The comic adaptation is done by Roy Thomas, who worked with them on the plot of this, so it's fairly parallel. But the comic version, though, notably in the artwork, changes her outfit to be a leather, like, jerkin, and then, like, shoulder pads, and it, like, completely covers her upper body, and then she has just a loincloth of, like, leather rather than a, like, skirt of mail.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, I don't know why they did the change with the artwork, because it's not like, oh, we can't be that skimpy. Red Sonja was running around in a bikini in the comics at this time.
Yeah.
I mean, also comics, so.
Yeah.
Also comics.
My
note for this just reads canonically bare midriff.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so they say that she's like, I think. Oh, okay, no, she doesn't say this. My bad. This is me continuitying the Hyborian age. I'm pretty sure she's like in her 20s at this point. That you don't need to know that. It's fine.
I mean,
thanks. I was like, what the hell? We're diving
as far
deep.
as I'm concerned, every character of every comic book ever is canonically 27 forever.
In his 20s. Oh.
Okay, well, Red Sonja.
I mean, no, Janis Joplin included.
Red Sonja, though.
Kurt Cobain too.
She in the comics dies and gets like resurrected. So like,
oh, for fuck's sake!
Of course, it is comics.
It's because
not only that, it's Marvel Comics.
This is not Marvel's fault. This is Dynamite's fault.
It's first I've heard of it.
So she doesn't die in the Marvel runs. She dies in the Dynamite run, the first one, halfway through it.
Okay.
But the Dynamite run, they said that it was like a continuation of the original Marvel run. And so then midway through it, she dies, and then when she's on the River Styx, she has the opportunity to either pass into the underworld or to be resurrected to continue the fight against like injustice in the world. And so she chooses to go back and continue using like the gift that Skathash, or whatever her goddess's name is in the comics, has her do. So
I imagine it's more a case of Sonja gets to the River Styx, has the opportunity to go into the underworld, and she thinks, but I can sell so much more comics.
Exactly.
Then you should do manga.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Shots
fired.
Shots fired.
That's my opinion on modern comics. I don't even like manga.
Modern Red Sonja is a very mixed bag.
I will not express any opinions on comics. I refuse to.
There you go.
That's fair. I think that's an opinion in and of itself, but that's neither here nor there.
I have made my feelings well known.
He pouts.
I also put in here that I hate the term scale mail, because that's not a term that they used, but it's whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, we had this discussion about D&D nomenclature.
Yeah. And so we'll mention her weapons too. She has a sword and a dagger, and they say that she carries herself like that she knows how to use them. One thing that I did notice is
she uses the dagger to open letters.
Yeah, The book describes her as having piercing sapphire eyes, which I thought was interesting considering in the comics she has green eyes.
Oh. Huh.
So I don't know.
Is that blue or greenwashing?
Well, the
Depends
comics
on
came
which one you read.
first.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know why they changed that. It's not a big deal though.
Somebody had a fetish for green eyes.
Well, I have a theory, I suppose.
Okay.
So, I don't know if this would be in the comics, but if you mention Skathash being the goddess in question, which is Celtic, then
yes,
they are basically trying to make her look more Irish. Hence, red hair, green eyes, throw in some freckles for good measure, probably.
Yes,
Becky Lynch.
But
yeah.
I have great
you
problem
no wrestling.
with the way that they incorporate this, because she's supposed to be a Hyrcanian.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make sense.
So, Hyrcanians, being inspired by essentially Scythians in our own history, would more probably be red-haired and blue-eyed.
Okay.
And that is what I believe there. Because, again, the original Red Sonja was Ukrainian.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So blue eyes makes more sense in that context.
It's just that most of the Hyrcanians in like the Howard stuff are kind of described as having like darker skin tones than like what Sonja has, so it feels weird.
Yeah, but Hyrcania is a large land with, I suppose, many ethnicities.
That is true. That is a good point. It's a massive like borderless land.
Yeah, essentially Hyrcania is the European and West Asian steppe.
Yeah. And Sonja's from somewhere over there.
Exactly.
So yeah.
I mean, Ukraine/Russia would include all of
that. And
yeah,
I promise I won't go into another comic book here, but there is a comic book that explains her origins effectively, why she looks different than most other Hyrcanians. But you don't need to know that because you don't care.
I don't need to, and I refuse to.
They're very good. I'm going to talk about Red Sonja comics all day long.
Is it though?
I've read almost all of them.
I believe.
I mean, you keep trying to sell, but Ian's not buying, man. I'm sorry.
No, really not.
It's not you, it's him.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah. So people in the bar, they have mixed views on these female warriors, and it like annoys Sonja, but she's just like used to this crap because she's been traversing the Hyborian Age for a number of years to put up with this nonsense.
Yeah, she's read the Conan comics. She knows what's what.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she fought at the Siege of Makalet with Conan, so she gets it.
Right.
There we go.
So Alice actually successfully recruits her to fight against the sorcerer because
money.
Yes.
Because money.
I mean, the conversation basically goes, "What are you out here doing, young man?" He says, "I am recruiting. I need warriors. You have a sword. And you're paying money for this?" "Yes, I'm in."
Mm-hmm. And then they're like, "Oh, but tell her about the wizard." And
we're off to see the wizard. All right, Dorothy.
And then
hop on in.
They're like, "Yeah, I bet she won't join up to fight with you when she knows about the wizard." And Sonja's like, I've fought wizards before. It doesn't matter.
And people in the back were like, "Whoa."
Yeah, she's like, "Sorcerers? Meh. And so then a drunken wench in the bar, who she's had far too much to drink, decides that she thinks that Sonja should bow to the patriarchy of the Hyborian Age and stop trying to be like a man.
Yep.
And she. I mean, I can see her point of view in universe.
Right.
She's basically channeling conservative women of Twitter right now.
Yes. Yeah, she thinks that women should be like her and know their place. And Sonja is like, "Leave me alone." And then she kind of smack talks her and stuff. So then what does Sonja do? She
smacks her.
Kicks that bitch in the face.
No, in the ass. Canonically in the ass.
I thought it was in the face.
No. She something about kicking her in the middle of her generous rump was words to that effect.
My apologies.
But if you want to imagine that she bitch slapped her, I like that visual.
No. I imagine she kicks her in the face.
That would send teeth flying. That would be a little too brutal.
Roundhouse kick.
Yeah,
Chuck Norris style.
Yes, that's what I have in my notes. Right? So,
it would be a bit too brutal for a protagonist we're meant to root for.
Kicking women.
In
the face. I mean, it's women on women action,
Yeah, and speaking of that, in the bar, all the people get excited because they're like, ooh, there's going to be a cat fight. Yes, we get to see all these ladies fighting. This is awesome. And they kind of gather around with their beers.
Yeah. Dude comes from outside with a bucket of mud.
Yeah. But see, then the wench's boyfriend, he gets very butthurt. And he uses a classic sword and sorcery slur towards women, and he calls her a slut. And says he's going to fight.
Fairly unimaginative,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
But then again, so is he.
Sonya's like, we can just like have a drink at the bar and like talk this over, and then he's like, no, you're a bitch, blah 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 blah, and she's like, dude, I really don't want to fight you. She's like, I'm just here to like drink some beer and like eat some food, man. It's like raining outside, like I don't have time for this.
I think this is actually very important to highlight that Sonja, like a good protagonist, uses de-escalation first. Violence is not her first response.
Yeah.
that's not the most exciting RPG de-escalation. I'm sorry, carry on.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
But anyway,
No,
she eventually has to cross swords with this guy, and he, eventually realizes that he is no match for her whatsoever, and she disarms him and stuff, and then it's like, do you give up? And he's like, oh yeah, I give up. And then he doesn't give up and tries to kill her, and so then she kills him.
We have read the same scene
As you do.
so many fucking times.
But this scene is much more vibrant than the scene in the book whose name shall not be mentioned.
It also doesn't end with the protagonist getting a concussion.
No. True.
Yes.
So it's great, and it establishes that she is a good guy, and this guy was a slumbag because he was treacherous, and she only fought him because she had to defend herself.
Indeed.
Yes.
And then everyone in the bar is like, woohoo, she's cool, I like Red Sonja.
And us reading, we're like, woohoo, she's cool, we like Red Sonja.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hey, this is a nice change of pace.
Honestly.
Yeah. And so then one guy in particular comes up to her. He's a blonde bear of a man named Som.
And we love him.
Yeah, Som's a cool guy.
Too, yeah.
Fights with 2 swords. And about
Big
2
burly
dozen
dude.
other men in the bar also join up with them because of Sonja. She ends up selling Knight Alice's pitch about Lord Olin's thing. If it wasn't for Red Sonja, none of these guys would have joined up. They'd have been like, piss off, dude, get out of the bar.
Exactly. I guess partly it's not to be outdone by a woman, partly just because, well, I mean, she knows how to
Partly
handle
because
herself.
look at that woman.
Yeah,
Partly because look at that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's she's hot. It's, well, we don't want to be seen as cowards in front of this woman because she's hot.
Men are easy.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if we were in that tavern, I'd have signed the fuck up immediately.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even if I didn't know how to sword fight, it's like, I want to be next to her.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I will be in logistics, I'll write shit down, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
She's inspirational, our Sonja is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna sleep among 2 dozen stinky men just to be able to see her out in the distance. Riding with the king.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yep. It is.
So, now we get to
I
a
would
point.
drink her bathwater as well.
Oh, no,
Oh,
please,
no.
no. No,
Too far.
Red Sonja gamer girl bathwater.
no.
Oh,
E-girl
boy.
Sonja. Yeah. That's what I
Red Sonja
needed in
hot
my life.
pants.
Now we get to a point with the wages and stuff. The wages, I love that the authors decided to go into Hyborian Age economics, which is the nerdiest thing I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I love it.
But so like they use coppers, but they also use Kothian minars, and I assume that's the same thing.
I think that's a gold piece.
Could be. I don't know. It's not really defined in the novel, but the comic, Roy Thomas goes way more in depth with this. And so,
Moving on.
yeah, there's this Karajan minars are not worth as much as Kothian ones. And so that shows that there's a discrepancy in the economies of these two different nations, and that the wages of the soldiers here, they're getting 20 Kothian manars a day. And see, in the novel, she has money still to buy things, but in the comic, she's completely flat broke and has to get an advance on her pay in order to even drink and eat.
Standard D&D adventurer stuff.
Yeah. I don't know.
Listen, man, I'm broke. I mean, standard sword and sorcery as well.
Yeah, because Conan is broke at the beginning of every story.
Yeah. And he's rich at the end of most of them, but broke at the beginning of all of them.
He squanders it the fuck away. Yeah.
I'm starting to think our boy Conan has ADHD.
This is actually a tangent, but this is actually a point of the Barbarians of Lemuria RPG in that the GM is told to encourage his players to create bombastic adventures and stories as to how they squandered their pay from last time, and the better the story and the more they squander towards everything, the more XP they get.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Which is that is a great touch.
There's a similar thing in the Modiphius Conan RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And in it, there's like a table that you roll to see like what happened in between adventures, and like sometimes that can increase your wealth, sometimes you become flat broke, sometimes you have to flee from a city because the law is after you, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. I like
Shit
that.
happens.
Yeah. So I enjoy that as well.
Good stuff.
All
right. So they're off to see the
wizard?
king at this point?
Yeah, the king. Yeah.
Would this perhaps be a good point to just take a quick 5-minute break so I can get a refill on my coffee?
Christ, on your whiskey, you mean?
Well, that too, yes.